I know. I got to go get the mop because, like, some people really can't keep those drinks in the...
I know.
And the broom.
What are you going to do?
Right.
We'll swab it up.
When it hits the level of Zamboni, I'm out.
Yeah. If you probably don't know that you missed hearing Mr. Mike Sims fill in for Rob Leonard on the Free for All today. And if you want to hear that show, you can go to try nccradio.org, and the shows are on Spreaker. You can go to Spreaker.com and you can find them. And
I always felt like that was a typo.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Because Mike is a master. And if you want to hear another good show, listen to Piano Man Sunday afternoons. That's today at 3 p.m. Where else but Long Island would you find a radio show devoted to the music of Long Island's own Billy Joel? Well, host Chris Muldoon digs deep into Billy's catalog to include live performances, interviews, demos, and covers. If you love the Piano Man, you'll love the Piano Man. So today at 3.
Yeah.
So, Joe, what is, after we got winterizing tips from Brock, I can't believe Nevada, he's talking about winterizing
Yeah, right.
tips.
I think of, like, cactuses, desert, sweating.
Yeah.
Road runners, coyotes, and, like, he's talking about, like, snow stuff.
Right.
I don't know about that. And, like, some of the stuff about, he was talking about free, I'm like, what is he? He's got this thing in the refrigerator? Where's he keeping it?
Right, I know.
I mean, it's always a good idea, especially if some of us are lucky to have heated garages, and some of us
Which
basically have, some of us basically have sheds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like one step above leaving the car outside. So yeah, you do have to keep certain things out of the elements there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you I had for a period of a year, I had both the Chevelle and the Camaro outside in different years.
Oh, I know.
I had them all nicely covered up, stuff like that. But when I cracked them out for the season, you could tell there was surface rust. There was all kinds of stuff that did not happen inside when I was in the UD.
I got to tell you something. I mentioned last week the monastery.
Yes, the monastery. Yes.
Oftentimes I've circulated cars that I park outside at the curb. Not against the wall, not against the ocean, against the curb. And I noticed that those cars, a lot of times the rotors on that side of the car rust a little more than the left side of the car.
That Nissan.
I've seen it. Well, what Nissan?
The one with the control arms.
Oh, no, that wasn't mine. Yeah, that wasn't... I'm saying my own cars I've seen this with. Yeah. And I remembered last week I was talking about doing some maintenance on my Mazda, and I had problems with the rear brake caliper on the right side of the car. And I'm thinking, wow, and I've noticed even that right tire and rim gets dirtier, probably from rain splash and whatever, just parked by the curb.
Yep.
And if it's a car that sits there for a long time, that accumulates. And if it's a car you drive every day, you'll still see it, but not as bad. So... where you put it also has something to do with it. So
yeah, you never know what kind of random factors stack up when it comes to these kind of things. And this guy Jim came up with a good point that moisture is practically non-existent in the desert.
It's very dry, right?
Yeah, so like I guess. I don't know. He's got the wet desert out there, Brian.
I guess, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? Let's go to the wet desert on the phones. We'll go and have some fun and say hi. You're on with the Motor Mouths.
Hey, Ray. Hey, Joe. It's Carl.
Hey, Carl. What's happening, man?
Carl Anthony, Automoblog.net. Thanks for giving us a call. What's happening?
Hey, thanks for inviting me on the show. It was a pleasure to get the email yesterday, and I was listening. You guys were talking about corrosion, and I just started to shake and sweat right there because I can't stand it if my wheels are dirty. I can't stand it if I got dirt on my windshield and corrosion on a vehicle, man. And you're talking Camaros and Chevelles. Oh, man, it just makes me cringe.
Oh, God, yes.
Well, you're up in the northern part of the country, right? You're up in Michigan?
Yeah, up in the heart of Detroit, where weather is just weird. It was 80 degrees on Tuesday, and yesterday it was 35.
Yeah, you guys get that. You get that lake effect weather, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're on Long Island, so we're on an island, and we're on the South Shore right now.
It was like 80. Was the beginning of the week? It was like 80 degrees. Yeah.
Now we get some weird
now
stuff.
It's like 50 something. I think outside maybe.
Yeah. So, Carl, what are your guys' plans, or how do you prepare or combat the weather changes in the seasons where you are?
Honestly, the best thing you can do up here and in the Midwest, and this is a question we get all the time, is if you can wash your vehicle as frequently as possible, that's about the only thing you can really do is caring for it. Back when I used to be a service advisor in South Dakota, we would get a lot of customers that would ask that too, because they would put down a lot of salt in South Dakota. They do the same here in Michigan, and one of our technicians would joke. They would say, well, if you really want to winterize your car, move to Florida, or move to Texas, like if you really want to winterize it. But it's interesting. In some of the work I've done in the auto industry, there's other places that you would think they just have corrosion of a different type. Like you can go out to California, by the beach and stuff, and you think, well, you're not going to have traditional corrosion that you might have in a Minnesota or Wisconsin or Iowa winter, but you just get corrosion in different parts of the vehicle, from the salt of the ocean and things like that. Like the corrosion just shows up in different places. So the thing we recommend is, up here in Michigan, every once in a while, when the weather gets nice, and by nice I mean like 20 degrees, like that's a heat wave up here.
It's relative.
You can run through the automatic washes, and that will help a little bit. But it comes down to care and maintenance, man. But you look at some of the processes in manufacturing, galvanizing, high strength steel, and things like that. Like the materials are getting better. More usage of aluminum and things like that. But guys, honestly, I think it just comes down to how you take care of your vehicle. If you wash them, wax them, and you stay ahead of it as best you can.
Especially the undercarriage. I mean,
Which is the hardest part.
It really, and the amount of brake lines I see rotting.
Oh yeah.
More so than especially like the early 2000s, late 90s.
Yes,
them things are rotten left and right. I mean, forget it.
Speaking of brakes, the one thing that I've seen happen that I do like is manufacturers, even aftermarket manufacturers, coating the brake rotors with like a nickel nitride or there's another coating, I can't remember the name of it, and a lot of the OEMs started doing it because they said, I read an article in Motor Magazine, they said, you know what, we went out on the lot to look at the new cars, and they all had rusty brake rotors because they were and then that guy, whoever it was, went back to corporate and said, hey, listen, we got to get this in the pipeline to put rotors on those cars that won't rust as fast, so they look better, and because now everything has an aluminum wheel that's open.
Sure, yeah. Right. I mean, a lot of times you let a car sit, with a few days or whatever, depending on the rotation of your fleet there. And sure enough, when you walk outside, you don't see a nice shiny rotor no more. Now it's got a nice little patina to it.
Sure.
Right, and you guys know, I mean, we've talked on this show autonomous driving. I mean, we talk about that a lot, and you see all these safety systems. Automatic emergency braking is a very good one. And, you get into it in this scientific and you get down to the algorithms of the system. And then it's like, guys, I mean, I hate to be the elephant in the room here, but look, like, if the rotors are shot and the pads are 2 millimeters, your system's not going to work. I hate to be that guy, but it's like, it's like brakes are such a fundamental component of a car that, like, when they're done, they're done. Like, there's no waiting. Like, you got to get them changed. You got to keep them maintenance, and Ray, it's the Ferritic Nitrocarburizing, FNC is what they do.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and it's Brembo Brakes still does that. Like, their high-end stuff has that, but like Chevy trucks, for example, all Chevy trucks from 2014 going forward, everything, heavy duty to the Colorado, they all have the FNC on their brakes to try to prevent corrosion and and then of course for heat dissipation too, because the assumption is you're towing heavy with those trucks, and that really puts a strain on the braking system. So the braking, the FMC, that stuff is awesome. That helps tremendously.
And that was, again, Ferritic Microionizing?
Ferritic Nitrocarburizing.
Oh, Jesus.
FNC.
Nitro.
Yeah, basically, my understanding of it is
Nitro, burning brake rotors.
Right.
Dun, 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 dun.
Right.
But you take them they're baked at the factory overnight, essentially, in a massive oven. It's well over 1,000 degrees, and then there's a chemical reaction that takes place during that baking that basically fortifies and galvanizes the surface so they're more resistant to corrosion. Basically, I think on the service side they say that the brake rotors last twice as long. So
now that has a little bit of a darker color to it, I believe.
Right.
About 10 years ago, my daughter had a Stratus, and I had bought Centric brakes. I like that product, and I bought 4 rotors and pads because they had a kit. They do a good thing, on rock. They put a nice little thing up there where you get a brake. And the Centric rotors were the first ones I had bought that had it must not have been this process because they were like a dull silver color, but I watched them, and for many years those things still looked like brand new. It was great because they did exactly what they were supposed to do, and I was happy.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the thing. It's only pennies more for something like that. It's not a lot of money.
Right. And you guys know, being car enthusiasts, you look at these big muscle cars. Joe, I know you're a Chevy guy, and I'm a Mopar guy, and but look at these performance cars that have 6-piston Brembo brakes on the front. So it's like, the 0 to 60 times and the top speeds of these cars are impressive, and everybody loves the sound of a supercharger, but you got to be able to control and stop the thing at the end of the day, and the brakes are just as important as any other component on that car.
Heck yeah, and that is one of the big advantages that the modern cars have over the earlier muscle cars, is because the earlier muscle cars, you start crossing stuff as soon as you hit the brakes at high speed.
Well, that's why I get a chill. I'll see pictures or see something on TV where they built the gasser, and of course nose high, and it's got a big block in it, maybe a supercharger, or it's got a tunnel ram with dual quads and all the go fast goodies, and there's the single pop master cylinder on the firewall. Like, what are you guys doing? And nostalgia is nostalgia, but you know what? Safety is your life.
Yeah, because it works pretty good. Anything that I see people that I encounter that they do the car, they drop a motor in, or they just want to get like a classic car from, say, like the 50s or the early 60s out. It's like, dude, we got to go to dual brakes.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to convert to disc, which is another thing, but you got to at least convert to a dual hydraulic system, because God forbid. The only reason that they had that back then is they just didn't have the technology.
And
They also decided that maybe it was cheaper, but that's another
and I have
story.
to say, every car club that I've been in or a part of, even the bigger ones or the smaller ones, they all say, and I've always been on the judging committees because I've always been a car show judge, they always say, you know what, we agree to let certain things pass, even in a stock class, like a dual master cylinder and a disc brake upgrade where there were drums, because the car is driven, it should be safe.
Right, exactly, because they're operated on New York, modern streets with modern idiots.
I thought you said
around
New York streets.
I was about
that
to say.
Modern. Don't go to.
Well,
not always.
21st century potholes, 21st century idiots surrounding you. You never know when you're going to have to hit that stop pedal real quick. And let's face it, it's an act of steering and braking on a lot of cars from the 60s unless they were modified. I know you don't. I don't know if you remember that, Ray, about a certain goat, because that thing handles like a freaking slot car now. But anything else is like an act of Congress.
Absolutely.
You have to send out a save the date for when you make a turn.
Right.
So
you know what we should do, guys? A really great business proposition, especially this time of year, would be we should develop a braking system that every time you hit the brakes, they give off a pumpkin spice aroma.
Yeah.
For fall, yes.
Right, for fall.
Right. I think it would be a huge hit.
That's good idea. That's excellent.
I'm just putting this through my mind. You know what I mean?
That's truly inspired. The people at like Wagner and Akebono and all of them, they're going to love you, because everybody's going to hit their brakes just to get a hump. Exactly. Yeah, I love it.
So, Carl, can we keep you on? We'll take our break, and we want to come back and talk about what's been new on Automoblog this week.
Yeah, we got to poke through. There's some interesting stuff.
All right, we'll keep you on, Joe. We'll take a quick break on Motormouth Radio. Ray Guarino, Joe D. You can make it work for you if you try here on 90.3 WHPC. Yes. Keep it. You got it.
Have you seen DJ Solero?
No, why?
Well, he was supposed to be here right now to tell everyone about his show, The Rare Groove Session, but I can't find him anywhere.
I'll look for him. Maybe he got something to eat.
Food? He went to get food? I mean, who can eat at a time like this?
Relax. I'm sure everyone can figure out when they can listen to the most incredible music from the 60s and 70s that they may not have heard before.
But what if they can't? What if they never figure out when the Rare Groove Session is on? What happens then, huh? I don't want to live in a world where no one knows about about the Rare Groove Session.
Hey guys, ready to tell everyone about RGS?
DJ Solero, where the have you been?
I was getting something to eat.
How